Hey y'all, we back. This is Reasoning with Rasta. And the name of the show or podcast is Afterlife. And we have a guest, I Sir Slay, and I'm Queen Lady Slay. And I brung this topic up like I explained on Facebook, where I have a lot of people on social medias that's claiming Rasta, but your actions and your deeds don't show Rasta. So I wanted to bring someone that has been a Rasta for years and bring the foundation of Rasta and give some wisdom and some knowledge to some people that may not know what they're claiming out there. So again, we're here with Sir Slay, formerly known as Spinny Man, now known as Sir Slay. And I guess our first question would be, how can you explain what Rasta is to you? Because we see Rasta in so many different forms and fashions. So can you tell us about Rasta from the beginning and bring it up to the middle and now where it's going now?
Greetings, greetings. And as she said, I, Sir Slay, formerly known as Spinny Man, Spencer Alexander, Slim. We wanted it, like she said, make this video because a lot of time people recognize Rasta as what they recognize Rasta for, or see, or hear. So, out the gate, I want to kind of break down what Rasta. We got another clip that we did live showing the collection of the music that I acquired over the years as becoming Rasta, living Rasta, loving Rasta. Okay, so that's not so much as saying I am a Rasta man. It's due to my actions and my ways and my livity that can say that, not me. Okay, so I say Rasta to answer the question. I say Rasta is about the truth and the rights. Stop the fussing and fighting, especially black people. Okay? And strictly love we'll deal with. Strictly love we'll deal with. So stop the fussing and fighting, especially black people. Okay? And strictly love we'll deal with. Now there's a lot of other things that people want to implicate in there as far as the hair and the smoking and all that kind of stuff. But we're going to speak on that also too. Okay? So yeah, stop the fussing and fighting. Strictly love we'll deal with, especially the black people. Okay? Sing Rastafari.
Can you tell us about the foundation of Rastafari? How did you incorporate what brung Rasta out of you? What attracted you to Rasta? If that's a question.
What attracted? Yeah, that is a question. Starting out the gate, nobody brought reggae to me or hand something to me and say, listen to this, this is reggae. And from there, my journey started with an album, Man in the Hills by Burning Spear. And that album was the first introduction of reggae music to me, or on the Rasta tip of music. So after getting that album, it was at Kmart South Anthony, Fort Wayne, Indiana. Me and my brother, my mom, we were shopping with my mom. And me and my brother, I was already into music. The old school, the R&B, all that, black, white, all that. I mean, I turned, another story. But anyway, we came across Burning Spear, and we looked at it and said, you want to get it? So I ended up taking that album, and I taped it with some of that other stuff, far as the R&B, the white music, and he took it to work. And one of his guys heard that Burning Spear, some of that Burning Spear that I mixed in there with like Mick Jagger and them, Take You to the Top stuff that I was listening to already, R&B and rock and roll type white music stuff. So he heard that reggae piece in there, which was Burning Spear, Man in the Hill album. He gave my brother Bar Marley, Exodus and Survival. Those two albums. And I heard Waiting in Vain by Bob Marley, and I was gone after that. Those two albums got stolen out of the car. 67 Impala we had redone, repainted, and all that, and I'm working on my old school now. So they got stolen out the car, so we had to go buy his albums back, and we got the same two albums for ourselves. And I fell in love with Bob Marley, I Don't Want to Wait in Vain. And that just did it for me. Everything about that song, and I wanted to just hear anything more about this type of music. Already starting with Burning Spear now, Man in the Hill. And if we shall live up in the hill. My mother do this, father do that, son do this, daughter do that, and they all come back and they be making things work. Yeah, Burning Spear, Man in the Hill. And my very first reggae concert, which was Burning Spear down in Bloomington, Indiana. So that's my jump into reggae music, the start of hearing the music, how I got involved with the music, and how the music became a part of my life.
Now, if I heard you right, you said that you had something like a mixtape or a mix CD, and you handed it to somebody, and they were listening to it.
Yep, it was a white boy that my brother was working with at the place called Sollywood, which is a juvenile detention place that he used to work at. And I think his name could have been like Steve Strom. And the one guy you be talking about, Gary Bean, was working there at that time. Yes. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Mike Stevenson. What's my boy? Marvin. Yeah. Bobby Golden. Oh, yeah. So that's when that music came around. And when I mixed that Burning Spear in with that rock and roll and R&B stuff that we was already listening to, that one of the white boys picked that Steve Squires. It was two white boys, but one of them was already into it, and he gave us those albums, and they got stolen out the car. Okay. So yeah, that's a good one.
Well, I bring that back up because I wanted to. The next question is kind of tampering into both of them, as far as how. Well, I guess I'll first say where Rasta is not really a color thing, and or a race thing. I want him to speak upon that first of all, how it's different in the way that Rasta shows it or gives it out. Do you understand what I'm saying, or do I need to make it a little bit?
As far as you said, is different
as far as like you notice
color
that
thing.
It's not really a color thing. It's more of I can say like more of a unity thing, if I can say that, if that's fair to say, because you listen to some music and it's coming from well actually yeah that goes into it. It comes from a really dark place, but we want to talk about the dark place that reggae music came to, which goes into the next question. Did you see? There's not really a racial bond or a racial barrier. It's all race. It's all races. That's what I'm saying. It is a unity thing of people coming together. That's what I have seen since I've been introduced into Rasta.
See, we could sum that up real easy, and the thing that's going on right now. But one love. That's what that meant. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel all right. And what they doing with the one love thing now, that's all cool and whatever, but it doesn't take away from what Rasta did. And also back to the roots, what she was saying about like what the music is really about. That music came out of the mud, from the mud, was in the mud.
To get to how much
exactly. I heard you.
Just interject real quick. How these young kids are really talking about how they got it out the mud, and they're getting it out the mud the deceptive way, the devil way. So we wanted to bring to you that how Rastas get it out the mud too, but they get it out the mud with glory and a character of themselves. Can you speak upon that?
Well, for Christ and his kingly character, Garnet Silk. Okay, Christ and his kingly character. As far as the character thing go, getting it out the mud. They came from the mud. Trenchtown, if you know anything about Trenchtown, you can go on YouTube, Trenchtown, see the slums, all of that. So this music came from a background, from an environment of what they would call nothing. Completely nothing, just the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst, and went around the world and transform lives in a way that no other could. Not where you had to go stand in a church and did get it. Okay, and the roots of that music with Bob, Peter, and Bunny. I mean, them three right there. That doesn't sum up the real start of reggae music, even though those three names, Bob, Peter, and Bunny, have a lot of significance in the thing of this reggae music and Rastafari and all of that. And what the word Rasta and all of that, I mean, through the interviews, trying to understand it. Because I don't want to come at you through that same angle. Rasta is a way of life. Yeah, we heard that over and over and over again. What kind of way of life?
Can you elaborate on that, since you did bring that up? What kind of way of life is, if it,
Okay, she was saying something about color. Rasta is not no color. Rasta is not a bag of locks. I had locks, all of that. Yeah, past my waist, all of that kind of stuff. Who had the longest lock, all of that. Rasta is not no color. Rasta is not a bag of locks. Rasta is not, you got to smoke. You got to smoke. No, that's not Rasta. Rasta is not, you got to be a vegetarian or a vegan. Prove me wrong. That's not Rasta. Rasta is not none of that. And then when it really comes to Rasta, it's about what Rasta mean to you. First, you got to know what the meaning of Rasta is. What do the word Rasta mean? And when they get into the head creator and all of that, go look for yourself. So you'll know for yourself what Rastafari mean. And when they get to talking about, like you hear Snoop Doggy Dogg, I know y'all heard a lot of these videos. They talking about the bloodline of King Selassie, all this normality stuff, all the normal talk, and the bloodline being back to King David and King Solomon and all that normal talk where Rasta is. But what does Rasta means to you? And a lot of people, just like with the Queen, when she first met me and I asked her what was Rasta all about for her, what she heard about it, and it was mostly from the dance hall.
Which brings me to the next question. I wanted you to elaborate on how they done deciphered and took apart and added to and put their spin on what Rasta traditional music, if I could say traditional music, is compared to some of the stuff we may hear out now being produced, where, because we don't know no better, we're calling, like I can mention on Reggae Time, and how they took a foundation of one music and twist and made it into their music, but that's not representing the true music. So can you elaborate on that for us?
Well, when you said the tradition, that's a good way to put it, the tradition. Okay, the tradition of the music was roots rock reggae, but it started with the scat. So then you got to look at the scat too, so who started the scat or whatever scat was. But far as Rastafarianism and all of that, it probably going to go back into like the early 1930s, and you might can drift back into it a little bit before then, especially talking about Garvey and all of that. So that tradition of that music and the roots rock reggae, that's a good thing, because see that music was transformed into dancehall, like they say. Bob really got the music out there, and the only reason why, because they pushed Bob. Okay, they pushed him because
when they say when he says push, they put him out there. They put his name out there. They used him as their bulletin board.
Exactly. Good way to put it.
So that's when he says push.
So Bunny and Peter, being a doctor complexion and what everything stand for in this music business, saying like what we catching up with the rappers right now and what's going on with the rappers. Same thing was going on back then. CIA, FBI, and all of that was involved with all of that music, because the music was really taking a hold of things and making things happen. Oh yeah, it was rumors.
It was transforming lives.
Exactly. Not only that, connecting to Hades and other places where people that didn't have a chance to do nothing. Now this man can help you get this done, or that man can help you get this done, or hey, we're gonna pull these strings together and get this done. Apartheid. Songs like Peter Tar's Apartheid. So we got to fight. Come on. Fight against apartheid. Who makes those kind of songs? Rastafari.
To compare to where we hear now, like I said, I brought up Reggae Time, or there's a lot of
Reggae Time
rappers out
Reggae
there.
Time,
Also,
which means
excuse me, artists. Well, I want to explain this real quick.
But let them know what Reggae Time
Reggae
is.
Time. I'll let him. Reggae
Time
go ahead.
Is what the Mexicans took, and they took the reggae and put their little thing on the reggae. Think that, or whatever they put on there now is Reggae Time. And the first time I heard it was I was down in Georgia. And I heard it playing and I recognized the reggae part in it, but where this other stuff coming from? So I went up and asked him. He said, oh, that's Reggae Time. So I said, can you play some more of it? And then he started showing me something. Oh, okay, so the Mexicans don't put their little spin on it. Okay. See how this thing go?
So now the Mexicans done took it and put their spin on it. But also I wanted to talk about how some of the other artists make it more sexual, or
dance hall.
Dance hall, where you gotta shake your booty and all that. Can you speak on that?
Well, it's artists like Luciano, Bushman, in particular that I know they speak on that a lot, and they talk to the radio stations and trying to tell them what music they should be playing and what music they